Hello everyone, welcome to the FT Plus Academy of Civil Services, a premier organization for preparation of civil services examination. In today's News in Focus session, we will dwell into the intricacies of Indian Stamp Bill 2023 and we will also talk about the UNRWA and the funding issues. Indian Stamp Bill 2023 is a pivotal legislation which aims to overhaul the nation's stamp duty system by simplifying procedures and fostering efficiency in the property transactions. It relates to the UPSC syllabus of General Studies Paper 2. The specific topics which it relates to are government policies and interventions for development in various sectors and issues arising out of their design and implementation, e-governance, applications, models, successes and limitation potential. Recently, Center has proposed to replace the existing, which is around 125-year-old India's Stamp Act 1899, and it released a draft of the proposed Indian Stamp Bill 2023, which is prepared by the Department of Revenue, which comes under the Ministry of Finance. It paves the way for a modern stamp duty regime by incorporating various modern provisions. We will discuss it later. Now, the government is inviting suggestions from the public within a period of 30 days on the official website of Department of Revenue. So before going ahead with the key provisions of the bill, we need to first understand what is stamp duty. The stamp duty is nothing but the government tax levied for the registration of various documents between two or more parties. But please remember, this tax is considered as direct tax and it is levied or imposed on various financial transactions and instruments which are mentioned here. For example, letter of credit, sale and purchase of share, insurance policies, checks, promissory notes, property transaction, bills of exchange. So stamp duty is levied on such kind of transaction which is kind of agreement between two or more parties. So how the stamp duty is calculated? There are two methods. One is fixed and second is ad valorem duty. The first method is already understood. The amount is specified or is fixed based on the nature of the document. And the second duty is ad valorem duty. This is nothing but a percentage of the agreement value. So let's say it says 6% and the agreement value is 100 rupees. The duty would be 6 rupees, right? One thing you need to remember is the stamp duty is accepted as the evidence in the court of law. In our constitution, there is one article which is Article 268, which is related to the stamp duties. It says the stamp duties are levied by the central government, but within the states which are collected and appropriated by the concerned state. So these are levied by the central government, but the collected and appropriated by the concerned states. So now we must understand that why there was a need to change in the old law. See, we already had a law, India Stamp Act 1899. So why we are changing it? There are various reasons for that. One is pre-constitution. This existing stamp duty law, 1899 law, is very old and it does not incorporate the changes. So there are many provisions in the 1899 Act which are redundant and inoperative. Also, the language is quite complex, ambiguous. Also, the structure is quite complicated. There is no frequent rate revision as per the current valuation. So, there is a revenue loss for the government and there are various other loopholes which paves the way for tax evasions. Also, there is no uniform legislation. For example, the Act of 1899 extends to 30 states and union territory. But the stamp duty rate varies within the states. It may lead to the market distortion in the favor of few states. Hence, it is clear the existing act leaves room for errors. It leaves rooms for confusion, delays, litigation. That's why we need to change it, which is uniform across states, which is simple. Now let us understand the draft provisions of Draft Indian Stamp Bill 2023. One is simplification. Generally speaking, it is simplifying the language, structure and processes which is complicated in the existing law. So it proposes various changes. One is it incorporates provisions related to the digital space. So it talks about e-stamp and digital signature. What is e-stamp and digital signature? Let's understand first. First, look at the old stamp paper. This is the normal stamp paper we have, and this is the e-stamp paper. So under the section 218 of the bill, it defines or it provides the meaning of e-stamp. E-stamp is an electronically generated impression which denotes the payment of stamp duty by electronic means. So if somebody pays the stamp duty by the electronic means or otherwise, it is e-stamp. The section 217 of the bill talks about the digital signature. It provides the meaning of the digital signature. It says that if the word executed and execution used for any kind of instrument or agreement, it will mean they are signed and signature. In the IT Act 2000, the electronic record and electronic signature definition is given. So electronic record is data, record or data gathered, image, sound, which is stored, received or sent in an electronic form, or microfilm or computer generated microphotographs. Similarly, electronic signature refers to the authentication of any electronic record by a subscriber through electronic method or procedure. That the proposed bill has expanded the definition of financial instruments. It also empowers the state and center. How it empowers state and centers? They can introduce new instruments to levy stamp duty from time to time. So time to time, new instrument for the stamp duty can be introduced by both center and state. It also has provisions for revision of market value for different kind of transactions like transfer of property, rights and mining lease. There are various other provisions related to special economic zones and ships and vessels. For example, it lists for special economic zones, the proposed draft clearly lists the exemptions, and it also specifies the calculation of valuation, which makes the procedures little less complicated, or it simplifies the procedures, which will promote the ease of doing business. And also for the ships and vessels where they were exempted earlier from the stamp duties, there is a provision for withdrawal of those exemptions for ships and vessels. In recent years, Article 370 has been abrogated related to Jammu Kashmir. So the bill also has a provision for a revised stamp duty in the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. There are various monetary provisions the bill has. One is regarding the penalty, second is process of penalty, and third is undervaluation. So earlier the penalty in the 1899 Act was 5,000. Now it has been increased to 25,000. And also if one person keeps on repeating such kind of offences which are prone to penalized, there is a fine of 1,000 rupees per day for such repeat offences. And the penalty for such offences, the procedure was earlier complicated. Now it has simplified the procedure to impose penalty. So the bill also has a well-defined provisions to check if the certain property are undervalued. Let's understand the implication quickly. They are self-explanatory, so the complications are reduced. There are clear provisions, so it will promote the ease of doing business. It has incorporated various modern instruments like e-stamp, digital signatures. So the digital space which was not included in the old act is now addressed. It also updated the valuation and fee definitions. As we discussed that simplification is done. So hence there will be ease of doing business, more revenue to the government. Let's quickly understand the Indian Stamp Act 1899. This is a pre-constitution act before independence, money related or finance statute that lays down the laws relating to the tax in form of stamps or instrument which records the transaction. Under section 2 of this act, the definition of instrument is given in terms of rights and liability. The definition of instrument includes every document by which any right or liability is created, transferred, extended or recorded. So hence it imposes a tax on documents in simple terms that record transaction which involves any right or any liability. This act also provides the definition of stamp. Definition of stamp, that means the stamp in this act is defined as the mark, any seal or the endorsement by any agency or person which is duly authorized by the state. And it includes the adhesive, that means adhesive means sticky. And impressed stamp means a stamp on a document using a metal die. The act also says that there are a couple of instruments which will be charged, and the amount is specified in the schedule 1 of the act. So such documents are bills of exchange and promissory notes which should be charged, and amount is mentioned in schedule 1. This all has been said under the section 3 of this act. In the end, we can say this Stamp Bill 2023, the draft bill, represents a significant step towards the modernization of Indian stamp duty law. Why? It addressed the shortcoming of the existing legislation. It introduced the digital friendly provisions. It aims to streamline and enhance the stamp duty regime. So hence it facilitates the transaction and makes the process smooth. Now let's look at the previous year UPSC questions. One question of such a related act was asked in UPSC Mains 2020. UPSC keeps on asking such types of recent bills and acts. See, in 2019, the RTA amendment was introduced. Such kind of bill was introduced in this year. Hence, the question was asked in UPSC Mains 2020. The question says recent amendments. So recent means in the same year it was happening, the earlier year it was happening. So recent amendment to the RTI Act will have profound impact on the autonomy and independence of the Information Commission. So how to approach this question? Simply in introduction, you can highlight the need of this RTI Act. You can highlight, or you can also highlight the concerns regarding the independence of the Information Commission. So in introduction, you can highlight in not more than 3 or 4 lines. So it may be 2 lines, 3 lines or 4 lines, not more than that introduction. So while quickly highlighting the concerns regarding Information Commission or the significance of the amendments proposed, now come to the body part. In body part, you can highlight the key information. Key information means key provision of the proposed amendment. Why only key provisions? Because the question should be focused on, the answer should be related to the impact. So when you mention 1 or 2 or 3 key provisions, now highlight the impact of those provisions, the proposed provisions on the independence of the Information Commissions. Once you are done with that, jump to the conclusion. In conclusion, you can talk about the suggestions or the further concerns which need to be taken care of. Right? So this is how you approach the answer, and such kind of questions are generally asked in the UPSC mains. So coming to the second topic, we will discuss about the United Nations Agency, which UNRWA, and the related funding issue. The issue is making headlines globally, and after the Israel's accusations, and this development intensifies the humanitarian concerns in Gaza. And it also underscores the geopolitical implication in the Israel and Palestine conflict. So what is the importance of this topic? We will talk about the mapping of the zone, because UPSC can ask question about mapping in prelims, and for main syllabus it is related to the GS paper 2. The topic is important international institution, agencies, fora, groupings and agreement which involves or affect India. So let's jump to the context quickly. The United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestinian Refugees in the Near East, that is UNRWA in short, it is facing the fund issues. Many nations, what are those nations? We'll also talk about that. The many nations has paused funding for these agencies, and Israel has accused this agency to support the terrorist organization in Palestine, which is Hamas. The nation which has stopped funding includes USA, Canada, Australia, Japan, and the European nation, which includes Britain, Germany, France, Italy, Austria, Romania, Switzerland, etc. Why they have refused the funding? Why they have stopped the funding? Because Israel has accused this agency, or the employees of this agency, that they were involved. Some of the employees, according to Israel, were involved in the attack on Israel, which on the 7th of October in 2023 and carried by Hamas. The Israel also claimed that Hamas, this organization Hamas, utilized the UNRWA facility for military purposes, and it also taught anti-Israel sentiment. This United Agency responded on the accusations by Iraq. It denied the allegation, and it said that it has no links with the Hamas. It also assured the nations which are stopping funding that it would take strict action against those employees the Israelis claiming if the employees are found guilty. And recently, India has also responded to the Israel's accusation. It expressed the deep concerns over the Israel's accusations. And the response of India highlights the commitment to maintain like diplomatic relations, and it addresses the concerns regarding the India and Palestine relations and conflict. It shows the complicated nature of foreign policy of Middle East. What would be the immediate impact? It is obvious that the development, the accusation, and the stopping of funding would have significant, adverse implications for the Palestinians in Gaza, and it raises concerns about the continuation of the essential services, which was provided by the UNRWA. What are those essential services? We'll talk about that. So, in short, the 5 million refugees, more than 5 million, around 5.9 million refugees were affected due to the stopping of the funding by the nations. What would it imply for the India? See, India and Israel shares various partnership like defense, agriculture, entrepreneurship. For example, India contributes to around 40% of the Israel's annual arms export. It also affects the agriculture because recently, in couple of years, India and Israel has agreed to set up center of excellence in agriculture and in entrepreneurship. There is one kind of entrepreneurship center which is named I Create, and one more tie-up. This is TIE. This is an acronym for Technology Business Incubators. So this will impact such relations with Israel. On the other hand, it may also impact the India's energy security with the regions because Saudi Arabia and Iran, one of the two largest supplier of oil to India, are also involved in this conflict. So it may hamper or it may jeopardize the India's energy security. It will have also adverse impact on the India Middle East Europe economic corridor. This is an infrastructure project. India's ambitious infrastructure project which aimed at connecting India to the Middle East and Europe. So India would be connected to Europe through Middle East by this India Middle East Europe economic corridor. Such kind of conflict in the Israel-Palestine region, in the Middle East region, would have implications for this economic corridor as well. Now understand what is UNRWA. UNRWA stands for we have already talked about it, UN Relief and Work Agency for Palestine Refugee in the Near East. It was established in 1949. So after the 1948 Arab-Israeli war, there was a war in 1948 between Arab nations and Israel. There were many Palestinians which were displaced. So it was established in the backdrop of this. And UNRWA focuses on education, healthcare, financial supports like microfinance, social services, and emergency assistance program. Emergency assistance program includes food, shelter, medical aid, etc. There are a couple of things you need to remember which might be useful in your prelims examination, that in UNRWA mandate, it does not have a mandate to engage in the political negotiations. So it cannot provide a solution or durable solution, or it cannot engage in the political solutions for the Israeli and Palestine conflict. And also this mandate, the agency's mandate is subject to the periodical renewable. Every 3 years it is renewed. Let's quickly understand the conflicted region and the areas around it. Look at the map of Israel. This is Israel in dark yellow, and in the west of the Israel there is Mediterranean Sea. And the countries surrounding Israel are Lebanon, Syria, Jordan, and Egypt. If you look closely, the conflicted regions are West Bank and Gaza, which are given in the purple color. So this is the West Bank area, this is the Gaza Strip. In this narrow strip near the Mediterranean Sea, the Hamas terrorist group operates. And this is the West Bank, but the area is controlled by the Israel. So we have already talked about the Lebanon, Syria, Jordan. One thing you must also remember, this is Golan Heights, which is in Syria. This question was asked in the UPSC prelims. already talked about the Jordan and Egypt also. So now you can quickly have an understanding of the Israel conflicted region and the area surrounding it. We are talking about Palestinian refugees a lot, and this term keeps on appearing on the news as well. So what are the Palestinian refugee? The UNRWA agency defines the Palestinian refugee as the persons whose normal place of residence was Palestine during the 1st June 1946 to 15th May 1948. During this period, if a person was living in Palestine but was displaced due to the 1948 conflict, and due to this conflict, if they lost both home and the means of livelihood, they would be called Palestinian refugees. So this is the definition provided by the agency itself for the Palestinian refugees. Now there is a one previous year question of UPSC mains which was appeared in the 2017 paper. This was related to the Agency of United Nations, which were in news. See, in 2017, India along with the 12 other countries were elected to the Committee for Program and Coordination, which is called CPC. It is a subsidiary body of ECOSOC, and the question was asked on ECOSOC. So Committee United Nations agencies which were in news is asked by the UPSC. How to approach these questions? Again, the same format we would apply: introduction, body and conclusion. Right. So in introduction, what you can mention? You can mention the organization, establishment, year, or the current context as we have discussed in again 3 to 4 lines. And in body part, you can talk about the main function of the United Nations economics in bullet points. You can write the information in bullet points. 5 points would be sufficient. And also you should explain about the different functional commission attached to it. Once you are done with the body part, you can quickly jump to the conclusion. In conclusion, you should highlight the significance of this committee, or you can highlight the achievement. So this should be in 3 to 4 lines again. This should be very key achievement or key significance which would add value to the overall answer to the questions. So that's it for today. Thank you for joining the today's News in Focus session of FT Plus Academy. I hope today's discussion proves valuable for your upcoming UPSC and state examination. Stay tuned for more educational content and topics, useful exams, and keep learning and keep visiting the FT Plus official YouTube channel, that is FT Plus Academy for Civil Services at the rate of FT Plus IAS. Thanks for watching. Signing off.